introduction. We are going to watch what's called Buddha's Brain, review it. And myself, I'm not a neurologist. I have no training in neuroscience, but I have a training in Buddha's teaching. But the first time I got interested in neuroscience is in 2003, I think 2004, when there was a conference in Washington, D.C. Entrance was $400. We managed to get a concession for $200, and we went there, two monks. One was a medical student. So since then, I got interested in science, quantum physics, neuroscience. I do my own studies at my own church. I do Buddhist counseling, psychology. These things I do, which all boils down to neuroscience. So today I would like to represent a term called Neurodhamma. So, and what you're going to see mostly is neuroscience, but I will do the presentation also of how this is relating to Buddhism. It will be a summary of all this. I've met the author of this book, and we've emailed each other. He's teaching in the same center where I teach in California, and I'm inspired by what he said. So enjoy it, and then take out notes. You can take notes, and then we're going to discuss for 30 minutes, and then I will give a presentation, what you can take with you home. You have some tips to take with you home. You're not going to go empty-handed. So, yeah, and that will be coming from Neurodhamma. So please enjoy the video, and then I will go out and fix a few things for the slideshow, but at least the video is 1 hour. So let us start. And please take notes what you understand and what you don't, and then we can discuss also. Okay, we can start. I will summarize in a way that I feel that is suitable for you to at least take these points home. But let us get some discussion going on. What's your reflection on what you have seen? If you have some points, also I've jotted 4 points here. Like, what's the difference between reaction and responsive mode? Reaction mode and responsive mode. So it was almost the last slide. So all these things we need to discuss. So, but I open a floor. For me, that's what I'm going to offer for you, to know the difference between what's the difference between reaction and response. There's a fine line. Yeah? So these things that we can discuss. I'll tell you what's the difference. But if there's anything you want to discuss for another 20 minutes, please, something like 15 minutes. So throw out some ideas you have. Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was fantastic. I mean, it really, for me, expressed such a lot to do with our practice, that it was, just brilliant. And that point about responsiveness is a key, that we don't get our flight and fear and flight mechanism going, which is what happens when we react.
Right.
But we respond by having mindfulness, being able to observe whatever it is that mentally that comes to us, and to be able to respond rather than react.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say I thought it was fantastic. I'm going to buy the book.
Yes, in fact, since you have mentioned that, I might as tell you the differences that I was talking before reading this book. Difference between reaction and response: one is autopilot. Reaction is autopilot.
Yes, it is autopilot.
Then the other one is more deliberate. Deliberate, yeah. Well, then yes, reaction is irrational.
Yes.
You just spill things like this, and kids do that. The kids, because this is a reaction mode we had for many years, trying to avoid lines, so we react so that we don't get eaten. So our mind doesn't even have time to reason and understand. Well, response is more rational. Then another difference is reaction is more judgmental, based on our biases. What are the biases? Aversion, greed, attachment, confusion, fear, all those are biases. And then response is judicious. So there's a difference between judgmental and judicious. Judicious, that means, is based on wisdom and understanding. So most people, they say, oh, we Buddhists, you shouldn't judge others. Yes, you should not judge. What should we do? We should be judicious. Judicious, that we can have wise discernment. We can make a difference. We can make a comment on something which is unskillful. Or what's skillful, we can actually make the difference. So we don't become potatoes or vegetables. And we cannot actually distinguish between what's unskillful behavior and what's skillful. So that's also another difference. So a response is unnatural, you know. Yeah, so we get agitated. So then response is graceful and natural, using mindfulness and wisdom and understanding. Yeah, so those differences are not mentioned there, but I wanted to throw that out for you. Okay? Yes?
Could I just sort of build on that?
Right.
When we're reactive, when you're feeling good,
Right.
and everything's going swimmingly and really well in your life,
Right.
you tend not to be reactive. Thank you very much. What happens is that, I think maybe this is typical, particularly for me, is that when I'm really well and everything, everything's fine, but there's a pattern of behaviour that we have built up, or at least I have built up, and somebody has a go at me or attacks me, or physically or emotionally. Nothing attacks me physically very much, but emotionally I get attacked. Then I have these patterns of behaviour built up. So therefore, I haven't worked on myself enough so that I can respond in a responsive way. And so wait a minute, I just go for it.
That's what we tend to do.
That's where I think he's saying,
Yes.
Rick's saying, is that we must work on that. That's where work comes in.
Yes.
To change those patterns of behaviours that have come. I come from a family of drama.
Right.
And so there is that.
So there's more drama and less Dhamma, instead of more Dhamma and less drama. So now you have to be more Dhamma and less drama. Good point.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really appreciate your contribution. And actually, we have those habits. It's called defense mechanism. And there's a book here. It was brought to me by Jasmine. It's called Buddhist Psychology and Counseling by Padmasiri De Silva. Yesterday I met him. We had almost 2 hours of discussion, and he autographed it. And this is what I'm going to show you actually. What we do actually, human beings, to avoid negative experiences. Since you already made a reflection, they are called defense mechanism. Actually, the Buddha already gave them. One is called repression, another one is aggression, another one is projection, another one is regression, another one is compensation, another one is mental isolation, another one, this is given in Anguttara Nikaya, and another one, denial. We live in self-denial. We don't want to face the fact, because if we really do, this is going to harm us, and we have put off all this way of actually coating ourselves so that we don't face the pain. We don't want negative experience. We want to avoid them. Another one is called physical isolation, giving up. Okay, I'm not going to associate with at all with this person. So actually, we physically really cut off, we sever all our relationship. I think this is a very good contribution. So we're going to see also that one very soon, how to practice, because we need mindfulness in order to overcome these habits. They're ingrained in the habits. But it's understandable. That's how we had to survive. We lived in a society, and we have to interact with others. We have to develop ways how we can cope in order to survive. Otherwise, we cannot pass our genes to the new generation. So we better live either in self-denial, we can live in or project and all this kind of thing. So so practice is very important, because we can solve this interplaying, how we actually will react to situation, right? Yeah, so this is a very good contribution. Another person there? Yeah, there's another person there.
I was involved in an incident 50 years ago, but I still feel ashamed and pained by it. I was in charge of a group of children. And something happened, and one of the children ran up to me and said, "John broke this thing." Because I knew John, he was the mischief maker. So I rushed down to see what he had done. And there's a whole lot of kids standing by to see what I would do about it. And I gave John a smack across his face. Said, here you do it again. And then somebody else said, sir, it wasn't that John, it was this other John.
So have you worked out that guilt now?
That happened 50 years ago and it's so vivid.
Yes. Okay, there's another person there. I saw another person, please. There's another person there, who, I think around that area where that person, there's next to you, there's somebody raised their hand. Okay, who has any reflection on what you have had? You've just had a lot of stuff. Please, be brief. We want everybody to contribute.
When he was talking about taking the fruit, gladness, love and peace, I immediately thought of the four Buddha Viharas, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy and equanimity.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what sprung to my mind.
Right.
Very useful.
Yeah, that's really very important. In fact, we should practice this every day because that's what we go through in our daily life. Actually, all the four Brahma Viharas are helping us to overcome negative, to really deal with the negative emotions. Like metta helps us to overcome aversion, anger, and all that. And then compassion to overcome this self-pity, which is aversion again, and cruelty. And then the appreciative joy helps us to overcome jealous and envy, big time emotion, big time. Yes. Another person is promoted, we feel jealousy. Another person buy a new car better than us, we feel jealousy. So when we practice this one, we actually help us to overcome emotions. And equanimity helps us to overcome attachment and then also aversion. So we need to practice this actually in their life, the four Brahma Viharas. That's a good, also another wonderful contribution. Okay, one other discussion or contribution or reflection or comment?
Taking the 15-second self-compassion if something happens and you're not sort of overwhelmed and you acknowledge that before you move on and get on with your life.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was really powerful how you said, just, give yourself that 15 seconds and then get on with what you have to do.
Actually, this is very, very interesting. You see the thing that the definition we get in the Buddhist circle, Buddhist literature, I think this definition that's given in by Buddha Gosa, I don't know where the source is. They say compassion, this is how they define compassion, is the quality of the heart that quivers when it's faced with the suffering of others. Now, here's the problem. Most people, when they come to compassion, they want to practice compassion for others. And then they don't have what you call self-compassion. And you know why? I think most people think, Buddhists, they think, oh, we have no self, so there's no need to have self-compassion. If you have self-compassion, that's against Buddha's teaching. Buddha taught non-self. By the way, monks and nuns, they have what they call non-self-service. When we go to get out, non-self-service. But anyway, this is a very common thing about whenever there's a self, people think that that's actually egocentric to have self-compassion. We are taught we should not love ourselves. In other traditions, we are taught not love ourselves. We should love others. But actually, when we come to Buddha's teaching, we have to start with oneself. It doesn't matter which kind of teaching you are doing. Whether it's loving kindness, whether it's compassion, always we have to start with ourselves. I always give a practical example. If you don't have $100 and somebody wants $100, how are you going to give those? And I just bring a mundane example, very practical. Okay, I don't have $100, but okay, I want to give you $100. How are you going to do that? You must have $100 to start in order to give somebody $100. So really we have to practice this thing. So this self-compassion is what we need in more in Buddhist circles, because we usually use the word compassion alone. We try to kind of dodge the word self. It's very important, self-compassion. If you don't have self-compassion, you cannot give compassion to others. It's very important. Another reflection? One more? Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that he sort of concluded the end, the mindfulness, virtues, and wisdom, which actually correspond to the Eightfold Path.
Right.
And without specifying the Eightfold Path, he said that these are the basic practice in order to have a good mindfulness.
Actually, that's very good observation. The observation you made, it's the same observation I made, but in a summary of the Noble Eightfold Path. You see the summary of the Noble Eightfold Path? Sila. What's Sila there? Virtue. Then Samadhi. What's Samadhi? The mindfulness, concentration, and effort. When the Buddha talked about Sati Sampajana, he was talking about mindfulness and clear comprehension. So in there's effort. You say atapi. You have to have energy. Yeah? Then that's part of the Noble Eightfold Path. And then wisdom, of course, that's panya. So in other words, that's the practice we need to do. Yeah, last person.
I appreciated the point where Rick shared that it's so important to cultivate the happy feelings, like to think about a good experience in our life and to really feel it for 30 seconds or a minute or so in order to generate those feelings in our body and to do it regularly.
Right.
Because then the happier we are, the less we're prone to react to situations in our lives. So
right.
Yeah, I found that really beneficial.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, so I'll summarize it in a few slides, what he said, because it's a similar thing. So let's go through these slides, and then if we have time, we're going to have more reflection on the same thing. So a few slides I have to summarize most of his points mentioned. Because he mentioned about mindfulness, and this slide's about how to deal with it. Anger. Anger is I think what people experience most of in their life in all its version. Sadness, aversion. Actually, it comes in a very, very subtle way. Resentment, a little bit of irritation, many things actually. So I chose out of the strong emotions, negative emotion, I chose anger. So let's see what we can do actually here to summarize what he said. Let's see. What?
Doesn't look like you.
Anyway, what's very interesting with this picture is like actually a lion, somebody facing a lion. There are no more lions now, but this when people get angry, that's how they do, because we used to do this with lions. When the lion is coming to eat you, lions, leopards, and all these elephants, and the elephant come to you, you do like this. Actually, that's what I did when somebody shot at me. I said, I think that's why I didn't get the bullet, because must have get scared. Now, this is very interesting. The first change, physical change, but also the sound changes. So, in other words, we speak as if people are 10 miles. When we get angry, we speak to each other as if people are 10 miles. Have you ever seen somebody who get angry and whisper? No. That shows we are distanced psychologically. Psychologically, we have distanced ourselves so much. Huh? So this is very, very important. So now mindfulness is a first technique we have to practice. Right? Then right mindfulness. Right mindfulness is recognition and mindfulness of anger. Is very, very important. When anger arises, we have to nip it in the bud. As soon as it arises, we become aware at the very beginning before it just spills over. So this actually helps us not to react. Then at that time we are going to be in a responsive mode, right? Because we are with anger. Most people actually don't do this. What they do, they go with the object, because there are two things here, anger and the object of anger. So when you're with the object of anger, then you're going to keep on getting angry. You see how this helps to overcome anger? The more you look at the object, even when you're kids, you just focus on the kids, then you're with the object of anger. But when you actually observe the anger itself in the mind, then you're with anger itself. But how many of us, when we get angry, we look at anger in our mind? We always look at the person, the triggers, and then we get more angry, more angry, more angry. You see? So then we also have to become aware of absence of anger. This is what we call emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. Where is that pointer? So emotional intelligence, so that we have a strong perception of when anger rises, right? So otherwise we'll get emotionally hijacked. Emotionally hijacked is actually when we actually look at the object of anger. Be ready to be hijacked if we are always looking at the object of anger. It doesn't mean you don't focus on, you say that, okay, there's no people who made me angry. No. It's not denial. It's where you have to look in order to go to responsive mode and then sidestep the reaction mode. Because whenever we focus on the object of anger, we are reacting. That's when we hear the sound and the way they look and even thinking about them, we get angry. Okay, another scientific research. This is scientific research. Labeling and mentally noting the emotion helps to overcome an emotion. This time I'm giving anger here. Labeling is what? Vitakka. When you label something. And then mentally noting is vichara. It's called initial application and sustained application of thought. So when we note emotion, let's say anxiety, or anger. According to scientific research which I have, and if you're interested, I can send it to you, you will overcome that emotion. They did an experiment where people were getting through this kind of rage, right? And then they were not noting it. They were not aware of it. They just stay there without actually making a note of it. And people, another group, were actually, whenever they had that anxiety or anger, they would just become anger, like that. So they, not mentally. The people who did this, noting of anger, they overcome it. They were able to deal with it. They were able to overcome it. The other people could not overcome anger, right? So mentally not anger is very, very helpful. That's the first method. This is again in the Satipatthana Sutta. Then the next method to overcome negative experience is right attitude. Right attitude or proper attitude. So what is the proper attitude? Understanding and dissolving anger instead of acting out or reaction. So this is how we do. With wise acceptance, we say, this is anger. We do that to the extent necessary for arousing mindfulness. So when anger arises, we want to use it to become more mindful. Please tell me, when anger arises, do you use it to become mindful, or do we use it to get more angry? And you did this to me. No. How can you do this to me? How can you be insensitive? So we are in reaction mode. That's improper attitude. So we have to learn how to understand and try to dissolve. In Buddhism, what we are doing, we are dissolving anger through wisdom and understanding and mindfulness. So we don't want to push it away, because pushing it away is a desire. Desire to push away, another name for it is aversion. Also, we don't want to express it. That's indulgence, right? So in some Western psychology, they say, okay, if you get angry, get a pillow and start hitting it, or go to the roof and shout, and actually punch those people who made you angry, you get more angry. And who gets more money? Psychotherapist, because you go again and say, I can't overcome my anger. Of course, this expressing of anger is going to increase it, definitely. Then repressing it also is not very helpful. Also, anyway, there's another point I want to make. There is no such a thing as righteous or justifiable anger. In other words, you cannot say that I did this because I was angry. Because I have a right to be angry. All right? So this is also very important, and we can discuss that later. So I told you already the difference between judgmental and judicious. Don't be judgmental, but judicious. So those are called proper attitudes when there's a negative experience, right? So you can actually become wiser. So when anger is present, you can become wiser, you can become more mindful, instead of always being reactive. Then you are changing your brain. In other words, you are wiring your brain. That's Neurodhamma. Okay, we have a guy here, neuroscience. What will that do if somebody tell you if you have anger, go and start working your computer like that, if it's not working? One thing, you are going to get tired. That's the first thing. Some of the benefits of this, you get tired and exhausted, and then at the end of the day you are going to be angry because you have sores, right? So we should not react like this. Most people react like this. I've seen people who threw their computers out of the window. In America, I think there's a state, North Carolina. When people got angry, they were saying they shoot their computers. You know, when you get angry, just shoot your computer. You know, there are many guns there. You just get angry with your laptop. Expressing anger creates more anger. There is actually a neuroscience fact here that you should go with. All of you remember this neuroscience fact. Neurons that wire together, they fire together. That means the more, when you get angry, whether it doesn't matter what your reaction is, next time you are preparing yourself to be more angry, like it or not. That's the way. Because what happens with the mind affects the body, and the other way around. So you get angry today, you're creating big trenches in your brain, so that next time you can get angry even much better, faster. You don't need to delay, no delay. A little bit of, oh, darling, you know, I didn't bring you a cup of tea. Why did you do that? You did quick, very quick. Snapping at other people, you know, snapping, you know, even harmless people, you know. So we do this many, many times. You get angry with the husband, the kids get it. Because now there's a Neurodhamma here. Neurodhamma is actually, the Buddha said that whatever you incline the mind is what you become. That's already neuroscience. If you incline yourself towards anger, you'll always get angry. If you incline yourself towards loving kindness, you always have loving kindness. So this is very easy to remember. I don't know what this person is. It doesn't look like me. But also babies have. They are not so innocent actually. They get angry, they cry. This also person?
Little ones.
The little ones. Okay, that's the example. Okay, Neurodhamma. What people do to avoid negative experience. I've already told you these are called defense mechanisms. According to the Buddha, you find it in Anguttara Nikaya. The first one is repression. Repression, this one. I do not remember. You tell somebody, you did something? Oh, I don't remember. Darling, you poured this thing on the table. Oh, I don't remember. That's called a defense mechanism, which is called repression. The next one is aggression. What right have you to talk to me? I'm the head of the house. Keep quiet. Okay, projection. You are the one who committed the offense, not me. So in other words, we already project others. Huh? Let's say we are angry. I mean, all of the time we are angry, and then we have a friend of us who's not. So what we do usually is actually we think they're angry at us, and we think we're not. So we tend to survive like that. Another one is called regression. Evades the questions and reverts to childlike disorganized behavior. This is the Buddha actually giving this. Amazing, the Buddha was giving this stuff that you find in Carl Jung, you know. You can go and Google all this kind of food, and then you Google, he taught this also. And then there's compensation. You try to drown the talk of others. You keep on compensating, you know. And then mental isolation, you isolate from the problem and disregard the problem. Darling, let us not talk about actually shifting from this house. Because it's painful to you. You don't want to shift from Newbury to Sydney. And then we are talking about how we are going to move and all that thing. Okay, let us not talk about it. It's so painful. People try to isolate themselves. Denial is even very common. Not concerned with it. No, I'm not bothering. I'm not. There's a problem in Africa? No. No way. Physical isolation, people give up. They just go to another place or become monks. Okay. The third method is called investigation. When there's anger, we have to investigate in terms of impermanence. Anger is, my friends, this anger is impermanent. This is an insight. These are three called insights. Investigation in terms of insights. How anger is impermanent, and how unsatisfactory it is, and how selfless it is. Right? This is what we call adukkha, anicca, dukkha, anatta. Whenever there's a negative experience, let us explore it. Is it increasing or decreasing? People say, I've been angry for the entire week. I've been angry for the whole day. Nobody can be angry for the whole day. Because anger is a mind state, and it's rising and rising and passing all the time, like any other thing. So it's us who keep on sustaining it. In fact, most of the time, actually, we are angry at our memories. Did you know that we are angry at memories? Yes. All the time. The people have gone, they say, I did something, and then I leave on Friday, and then after 1 month, Bhante Buddharakkhita, I'm angry at him because he talked about anger. It's happened actually. Last time I was teaching a 3-month retreat, actually it was it was 6 weeks in USA. Because I had to leave to go back to Sri Lanka, I didn't teach the 6 weeks. So I just did only the half. Then on my last day I talked about anger management. But because I wasn't there on the evaluation, I went to Sri Lanka. Then somebody wrote to me that there was one yogi, one meditator, who gave comments. Well, I'm not there, of course I wasn't there. He said that I don't like Bhante. He talked about anger. I'm not an angry person, but his talk showed me anger. Bhante Buddharakkita's talk revealed that I'm an angry person. Can you imagine people hating monks because they talk about anger? He said before that I didn't know about anger. I didn't know that I'm an angry person. After that talk, I have too much anger. I see it, Bhante said that, okay, this is anger, how it manifests, So now this is what happens. So most people now forget this. Instead of seeing it as impermanent and satisfactory and selfless, and then they just go for the person who talked about anger. But then later on he said that, okay, now I think he must have agreed that it was very good. But the beginning actually felt very bad. That's how he felt the initial during my talk. But afterward, actually he appreciated at the end of the retreat. But he had to comment that he got angry. Even Bhante Gunaratana was teaching, I think, in Poland, and he was teaching metta. Somebody said, I don't like metta. Can you imagine somebody hating metta, having kindness? People are a little bit funny, actually. So this is actually it's all about reaction. People react, right? Because the mind is negative bias. Now this is how to deal with negative experience. How does anger affect my body? How does anger affect my mind? So if you do this, you are getting wiser. Instead of getting caught up with a person who made you angry, raise your hand if you have never made another person angry. Raise your hand. But the way we react with others, as if for us we have never made other people angry. So in other words, you go into this system other than actually focusing on the triggers. Focus now you are with the mind state, which this is very helpful. Now, non-clinging to anger or depersonalizing of anger. So this person looks like he's taking anger personally. Here am I, I'm angry again. You see? I'm angry again and again, anger's come. So the best approach is not to cling on to anger, just see anger as another mental state. So the best way to do that is to depersonalize it. Not I, not mine, not myself. In other words, you don't possess anger. It's something that arises due to causes and condition, and it passes away due to causes and condition. Anger is not your property. Most people have copyrights of anger. Can you imagine? It's my anger. I met people say, you know the best way to overcome anger, you practice forgiveness, and you're going to overcome anger. So what? This is my anger. I'm angry. It's very funny that people want to possess something it's like possessing air actually. Can you possess air? Oh, this is my air. No, it's an impersonal. Air is impersonal. You can't possess it. Right? So don't try to possess mental state. We know that of course it's coming in your mind, right? But don't take things too personally. That's what Rick was talking about. Taking things too personally. See it as impersonal. It's a mental state. So do not cling on to emotion. Okay, not IMS, Insight Meditation Society. Remember this, not IMS. Stands for not I, not mine, not myself. This is the Buddha's instruction, Satipatthana Sutta, the fourth foundation of mindfulness. Do not cling on to emotion of anger or any other emotion by way, this should be of conceit. This is being conceited, this one. By saying that I, angers I, you have conceit. By saying that anger is mine, you have craving. Yeah. By saying that anger is myself, wrong views. So in other words, the Satipatthana Sutta aims not clinging on anything in this world of five aggregates. That's what Buddha is telling us. Right? So do not own anger, let go of anger. Right? Then that's the fourth method. The fifth method is replacement methods. This was mentioned actually also in the presentation. Rick was talking about replacing positive, because with negative, you replace the negative with the positive. Rick was talking about that the mind is negative bias. Yes. So we have to do this daily, all the time, in order to counterbalance that. It's called neurological imbalance. We have to kind of overcome this neurological imbalance by actually substitution. What the Buddha did with that Neurodhamma, called Neurodhamma, conquer miserliness by liberating, and then conquer a liar by truthfulness, practice gratitude. Gratitude is a form of aversion. Practice compassion instead of cruelty. Practice appreciative joy to overcome jealousy and envy. So we actually replace it so that actually we can become wiser, we can become more loving, more compassionate, and all this kind of thing. So you can see Buddha was the best neuroscientist. He was talking about how we can rewire our brain. The bad news is that the brain is negative bias. The good news that we can do it. So this is called replacement method. We find it in Vitakkasattana Sutta. Vitakkasattana Sutta, that's where you find this method, Neurodhamma. Right? We go to another one. Reflection. We reflect on the defilement, the degradation, and the danger of anger. This one you can find in Upali Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya. The Dalai Lama said that all anger is only one letter, short D. Yeah? The letter D, if you put on anger, you get danger. So next time anger rises, you know that danger is coming. It's a warning. Like here in Australia, you have forest fire warnings. Yeah, you have these things. So now, whenever anger rises, see it as a warning that is dangerous. Why is it dangerous? It's going to affect your health. As you can see, according to Rick, you saw where he was talking about the effects of negative experiences physically and on mental level, and also organization and family and individually. So all these things, and nationally, it has effects. So anger undermines health and makes look ugly. Next time you have anger, look at anger look at your face into the mirror. Do you want to spend the rest of your life like this? No, probably not. And actually the Buddha said this make you grow even older. You age faster with anger. 7 methods. There are 10 of them. We are on the 7th method. So the 7th method, redirect your mind to something else which is less anger provocative. Yeah, so that means you can take a deep breath, right? and maintain focus on the breath, or you can come to the body. The whole body is for you actually to come to, but the breath is very important because it has what we call a psychological and physiological effect on your body and mind. So when you breathe, you actually helping your nervous system to settle back from a dangerous situation. Like that's called sympathetic nerve and then parasympathetic. Right? They come to normal and then you overcome the tightness and anger and all these negative emotions. Make yourself calm. The breath has a calming effect. You take a deep breath from the diaphragm. You breathe from the diaphragm, not from here. From the diaphragm, then you take in a deep breath, and then this actually provides more oxygen to your brain. It's healthy for you. Number 8, retracing method. That's another method. You try to find out the springboard or the root or the causes. Like when you have a lot of fear, from the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, from craving arises fear, from passion arises fear. Where there's no craving, there is, where there's fear. Where is fear, actually? This is very, very important. If you have a lot of fear in your life, you know that it's because you are trying to push away things. You are craving to push away things that you don't want. That's another form of craving. Number 9 is resolution method. Make a strong resolve. This is also commonly called commitment therapy. You make a commitment not to be angry, focus on the good. That's what he said. Rewiring your brain, because you can actually do that, focus on the good. The Buddha did this actually. The Bodhisattva firmly determined not to change his posture till fear subsided. You can find this in Majjhima Nikaya. It's called Bhairabhaya Sutta. Using his willpower as opposed to wisdom power. So determination, the Pali word is called aditana. So make a determination not to get angry. That you can set a period of time and say for the whole day or the rest of your life if you can. But be realistic also. Determination should be realistic, right? So get a small chunk of time. Let's say maybe the next 1 hour, I'm not going to get pushed away with anger and all these things. There's a quote from the Bible, actually, I found that very helpful. They say, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. And do not give the devil a foothold. Yeah. This is very interesting. It's from a Bible, but it's very interesting. How about we say, okay, let's say if we have negative experience in our life, you determine, I'm not going to get angry after sunset. Can we do that? Instead of holding anger next day, next month and all that, you would make this determination. This is very, very important. Yeah. Then 10th method, very effective method. Repeat all the methods above. Practice make perfect. This is some of the brain scans that I've done to show you how meditation is experienced. And the thickness, I want to just go through this because you are going to get this. And then Christian nuns in prayers, also there was some changes. There's also Buddhist meditation, big time for Buddhist meditation. Yeah, changes. In fact, neuroscience have found out 10 minutes, minimum 10 minutes of meditation, it can change your brain. Another school talked about 30 minutes. So if you can do that between 10 to 30 minutes, there will be change in your brain. Now, here's a big question. $1 million question. I meditate every day. I can't see change in my meditation. Have you heard this?
Yes.
It changes that. You may not see it. So next time when you meditate and you don't see a change in your meditation, don't give up. You know what the Buddha did? Buddha gave a simile that if you are this kind of a carpenter, you know carpenter? Have this machine that actually used to flatten the wood. The Buddha said that you cannot see what you remove every day. On a handle, this is the handle. Every time you do it, 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 years, you can't see how much you remove from the handle. But after a certain time, it is small. So the Buddha already told us that you can't see this on daily purpose. But people give up meditation. Oh, I've been meditating for 1 week, no change. No, that's unrealistic. So at least science is there to show there are changes. Okay, this is the words of love. Say to yourself, I love you. And also I love others. You have to do this frequently. Every time, not enough. every day say to yourself, I love Bhante. Every day. Then after that, that's not enough. I love all beings. Because when you love all beings, you imagine all this love come back to you. Boomerang effect. Yeah, so you cannot say enough of that. So I have also a slide here. I contribute this to Anguttara Nikaya, Rick Hansen, and then I think there's one slide I want to show you that helped me to also to, okay, it went haywire. But I want to show you a book. This book, of course, this last slide was about this person. Is called this one. The last slide was this one, bibliograph. Rick Hansen. You need to refer to these books. Okay, you need to refer to this book, Buddha's Brain by Rick Hansen and others, Buddhist Psychology and Counseling. This one, this book. It's a very, very, very good book. I'll leave there if you want to write something. And then there's Anguttara Nikaya. That's where I got some information. And then this also I've told you about this. This one I got from USA. So I like this kind of thing actually. So now I'd like to invite questions, and I would like also to tell you this what I do on daily basis. I have a picture of the Dhamma, the Dalai Lama. This card was sent to me in 2000. This card of the Dalai Lama. And every day this is what I do when I wake up. He said like this, a precious human life. Every day, think as you wake up. Today, I'm fortunate to have woken up. I'm alive. I have a precious human life. I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to use all my energies to devote myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. I'm going to have kind thoughts towards others. I'm not going to get angry or think badly about others. I'm going to benefit others as much as I can. I made this as a ritual when I was at Bhavana Society. Every day when I wake up, before I think about what I'm going to do, which Dhamma talk I'm going to talk, whom I'm going to meet, I would wake up and I go like this and look at the trees. Today I'm lucky to be alive. Because not so many people wake up alive. You know that? Yes. Now, the thing that, the good thing about this reflection is that actually you set up the stage for the day. Here's a big question. Are you going to get angry? Yes. Saying this doesn't mean that you're not going to get angry. But what's very interesting, this is what I found out. Whenever I get irritated, for some reason, I remember. There's a saying in meditation which says that it's not difficult to be mindful, but what's difficult is to remember to be mindful. So if you set up a stage for the day, that means you are going to remember every time when you have things that push your button to be angry. I refer this for your reflection. Thank you very much for listening. I will appreciate your attention. So, I have 2 more minutes because this 2 more minutes. Okay.
Question.
Yeah, question. I have 2 more minutes here. I managed to save 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I managed to save them. So now, question here is coming.
Suppose, I suppose one day all these will only work if the person wants to work on it.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for people who don't want to work on it? Like, I want to keep the rage, I want to keep the anger because it gives me the power.
Right.
Or people who are actually in denial,
Yes.
don't know at all. What's your advice?
Yeah, my advice is that, as you know that even the Buddha's teaching says that the Dhamma is for the wise. One of the qualities of the Dhamma, you know that the qualities of the Dhamma we always so akato bhagavato dhammo sanditika kaliko edipasiko panariko pachatam veditabo vinyo. So now, don't think that you are going to change all people in the world. Jesus didn't do it, Buddha didn't do it, but we can do our best. Buy a book to that person, be good, you have to show by precept, an example. You be the Mahatma Gandhi, I think, he said, be the world, the change that you want in the world. So if you think that, okay, maybe other people don't want to change, are you already changed? But if you haven't already changed and you want other people to change, then it's not going to work. So work on yourself. That's the first work on yourself and make sure that you are really very good at this. If you are getting angry all the time and you say the kids don't get angry, they are going to watch you all the time. You see? So be the change that you want in the world. Another thing is that do your best. Do your best as you can as a human being. But we are not enlightened, but we can do our best. So in my practice, I have 3 things that I consider. One is my intention to help others to change. Another is my skillful efforts to change others. And then another one is result. I found out the only things I have control over is my intention to help others or change others and my effort. That one is within my control. The results of how people are going to change or not, it's not out of my control. But the problem, people start thinking that they have control over the results. Well, good luck. You can plant mangoes and say, okay, I need mango. I don't want to go to the supermarket to buy mangoes. Is that what you do? So leave people alone. Even the Buddha say, I don't know the Buddha. In English we have a saying, you can take a horse to water and you can make it drink. Have you heard about this? I'm telling you, this is my desire. I tell you, let me share with you. I don't know if I live enough to see it. I want to make all the countries in Africa understand anger management because they're killing each other. There are 54 countries and 6 of them are Buddhism. I want to make the difference by 6 minus 54 minus 6, that's 40 what? 49? I want to live long enough to have every country there have a temple and have at least a little bit of understanding of Buddhist teaching. I have the intention, I have the effort. Result? I don't know. I have no clue. So please have little expectation. Don't have too much expectation to change your husband, to change your wife, to change the whole world. But you can actually have inspiration. You can have aspiration. Does that help? Yeah. So we can't change. Buddha never changed the entire world. Otherwise, all of us would be so one. We'll be all enlightened. So don't change the whole world. Just do your best. Change yourself and a little bit of your family and a little bit of your community. We don't have all the spiritual power like Jesus and Buddha. So we can do, however, do your duty. Do your part, best. Buy books. It's like a planting Dhamma seeds. My book is called Planting Dhamma Seed. You can dig a hole, you can get a seed, put it there, water it. I have no control of how it's going to have fruits. Remember, planting Dhamma seed. Planting Dhamma seed to change others. And then you know what's in control and what is outside your control. And if you know the difference, that's called wisdom. What you can control and what you can't control. Does that help?
Very good.
Okay, one last question. One last question? I think you have the books, access to books and all these things. So I think for me I like this field because it actually confirms what the Buddha taught without even a machine at all.
This is how the Buddhism is now understood by the West now, through this mechanism. Buddhism is coming to the West through this mechanism of understanding the brain and the mind.
Yes, definitely. That's a very good comment. In fact, the West needs that.
Yeah.
Yes, because if they don't understand scientifically, they can't relate.
Exactly.
They can't relate to it, you know.
And you can see the results by practice.
Yeah, you can see the results. And that's what the Buddha said.
Yeah.
Leading onwards. The Dhamma leading onwards. We see it's all leading onwards. One last question or comment.
Now, does this 10 methods also broadly apply to sadness and fear, the cursings of anger?
Yes. Actually, that's why I selected them. It happens to all, I just choose a case study to make it manageable. It happens to all emotions. You need to, in fact, all these methods, I didn't create them from Uganda. I got from the sutta. One is, the 2 suttas, one is called Satipatthana Sutta, another one is called Vitakka Sutta. That's the Neurodhamma, according in my book. This method happen, you can use them when you have a sadness. Why? Because sadness comes from anger. You know the parents, the father of sadness is anger. Grief and all these things is all related. Yeah. despair, lamentation, all these things actually come from aversion. So if you deal with anger, then you can solve the sadness. You can solve the grief. You can solve it. You can even help with depression. You know depression? Depressed. Depressed. So your anger, fear, desire, attachment, delusion are all depressed. They are fermenting in you because you're pressing them very deep. So you become depressed. So you need to release. Mindfulness helps you to release the can. And then you can see them, you can see your anger, you can see your fear. You lay bare this defilement. Instead of bottling them and then suffocating, you lay bare them and then you can see them for what they are. You see areas where you are reacting. You see areas where you have all these mechanisms. Yeah. Does that help? Thank you very much. Use them for the whole... One last thing. If you want to listen to these 10 methods, I've given them in many places. Listen to my talks in USA, www.dhammaseed.org. www.dharma, not Dhamma, Dharma, DHARMA, seed, SEED.org. And then you search for the teacher, Bhante Buddharakkhita. You listen to my talks of methods, how to overcome anger, emotion management techniques, and all these things. I'm going to write a book on 101 ways of actually doing this. I was talking to Professor Padmasid yesterday. I'm going to write it at some stage. I've researched 101 ways of overcoming negative emotions. I have passion about this actually. Thank you very much for listening. I hope to see you next time.